ready to rock and roll.
All right, day 4.
Day 4, see you back at camp.
Bye, Mom.
Bye-bye.
American communities. Up until today, we've spent much of our time trying to figure out how to do this thing we have committed to do. This isn't like any other tour I've ever done. It's not like any other film shoot Kate and Brett have ever worked on either. And for Allison, it's the first time she's been on a film shoot or a Segway for more than a couple of hours. Kate, Brett, and Allison have gotten much more comfortable driving the RV, and I'm much more comfortable about letting Al Segway without me leading her. All 4 of us had some learning to do, but I'm proud to say that today it felt like we were finally accomplishing more of what we want, which is to experience the range of American communities. This morning I completed my leg of yesterday's route from the Stillwell Dam to where we camped in Monroe, New York. Eastern New York was just as spectacular as Western Connecticut. The morning sun lit up the autumn colors so well I was able to spy some wild Concord grapes.
And grapes on the side of the road.
Breakfast is served. They weren't the biggest Concord grapes I've ever had, but they sure were sweet.
Not bad.
I brought some back to the RV, and City Boy Brett thought they were blueberries and seemed surprised by the seeds.
I've had a few.
The next leg of the trip was through a community I've been curious about since I met some residents from there who came to New London to take a Segway tour with me. Kiryas Joel is an ultra-Orthodox Satmar Hasidic Jewish community, and it is also one of the fastest growing communities in the country. When Allison and I arrived at the entrance to the community, we saw a sign that let us know we were in violation of the dress code for women. So Kate went back and got some sweats for me to cover my shorts and a long-sleeve t-shirt for Al to cover her elbows and neckline. There wasn't much we could do to accommodate the separation of sexes, since Kate and Brett both needed to be in the car to shoot the video, but we did our best not to offend. And for the most part, it seemed we were mildly amusing to the adults who saw us. The children in the community were almost exactly like all children everywhere. They were totally intrigued and fascinated with the Segways. Kids really are just kids no matter where you go, I think. We did get to talk briefly with a group of women and children because I think they thought we were lost. We told them we were on our way to California, and they were so sweet in their support and concern for us. One woman even wanted to make sure we had water with us on the unseasonably warm day. Men didn't talk to us at all, and that made sense because of their religious ban on the sexes interacting with each other socially. Still, I think it must have made quite an impression to see 2 middle-aged women gliding on Segways, whether they knew we were going to California or not. Next stop was Suffern, New York. That was a personal request of mine when I realized our route would go so close to my maternal grandmother's home. My Nana died in 1973 when I was 12, but I remember everything about her. Her home was my happy place, and I think that's why I probably still remember her address 44 years later.
We are at 3 Highland Ave, which was my grandmother's house, my maternal grandmother, Ann Wilson, who we found out was Ani when she came over, right? And A-N-N-I. And this was her house until 1973.
It was sweet to take Kate there and share some fond memories from my childhood, especially how much I loved my grandmother and her home and catching crawfish in her brook.
Fish, which I misunderstood as a very young kid that I thought those were baby lobsters, and they grew in the brook until they went out to the sea and became big lobsters like we had in Maine. So, but I became very good at catching them, and I realized, I learned that they swim backwards, not forwards. And I could spend hours and hours and hours down there. But
I also got to teach some folks how to glide on a Segway for the first time on this tour. I had to stop for a battery swap, and fortunately the batteries died right at the Orange Top Diner in Tuxedo, New York. As you can see, both Marge and Alex did admirably.
I don't know. That's good. I'm a Sox fan. Sorry.
Today we covered 35 miles because we spent more time interacting with the folks we met. It was pretty cool to finally have mastered enough of what we needed to learn to do what we really want to be doing.
You're so good with a bowl on your head. You must have gone to finishing school.